All right, it says we're live. So I'm going to do something that I haven't done ever on this channel, and that's talk about a very specific game. The game, if you pre-purchased it, you can play it today. So I pre-purchased it, and I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by NASCAR 21 Ignition. I haven't been. I've seen gameplay of it through YouTubers that got the game super early, like a week before launch. And I will say, I haven't had the enough time to really play through it thoroughly. I haven't played through every mode. I played through the career mode and quick race, and I messed with the paint booth because I'm not much of an online multiplayer person. So I don't know what their online multiplayer servers are like. I haven't played online multiplayer even in Heat 5. I think I did it on a very limited basis. But let's get into it. So the good. I thought that the game looks nice. It sounds nice. They put a lot of effort in the presentation. They've got a radio, like an actual radio personality. I can't think of his name right now. Who does the pre-race intros for the track, giving a brief description of the event and a little bit of probably some historical background for most tracks, which is nice. However, I noticed that, and I don't know if this is the difficulty setting that I have it on, because I play racing games very casually. The AI will randomly break at like Talladega. They'll randomly lift, which causes me to have to try and dodge the slow oncoming, like the cars that I'm going to run into. And I mean that in the the nicest way. I don't want to run into any cars in the game just because I feel like a terrible person if I do that. But they literally stop, and it's like, why did they just randomly break on the backstretch? One thing that does remain from the footage that I've seen, though, is they don't know how to avoid a wreck. I haven't had time to run like full races because the game came out today, and yeah, I literally just played a little bit of the career mode, which I'll be honest, guys, like NASCAR 21 in general is very bare bones compared to what the NASCAR Heat series was, especially NASCAR Heat 5. Now, I know NASCAR Heat was not the best series of games after Heat Evolution. I'm going to specify that. But with NASCAR Heat 5, we had things like a track testing mode. We had things like an in-depth career mode that allowed you to go into the 3 top major series and then a dirt series. What does NASCAR 21's career mode have? Just the Cup Series and the Cup drivers. I was kind of disappointed by that. I kind of wish they would have had all 3 series. The spotter gets on my nerves. I think the NASCAR Heat Series did the spotting better because the spotters didn't really repeat themselves. You'll hear the same thing 2 to 3 times, and I think honestly my game crashed at some point. Like, it just froze. I'm like, oh my lord. I know those things happen, but oh man, I don't know. Um, but no, the cars handle really nice. The assists kind of get on my nerves because when I first started playing the game, I was trying to get used to the controls because I started on keyboard and mouse, and then I went to get a controller because I have one actually. Well, here it is. And NASCAR Heat 5, I'm not going to say it's the worst NASCAR game, but it's not my favorite. Or not NASCAR Heat 5, NASCAR 21 is not my favorite. They did put a lot of effort into the presentation. And considering that it was delayed, I believe, from a summer release to October. So I don't know what went wrong, if they were having a hard time getting used to the engine, if they didn't, I don't know. But I've heard people compare NASCAR Heat 5 Ultimate Plus that's coming out on the Switch next month. I've heard people compare this to that, and they're saying NASCAR Heat for the Switch looks better. And people are probably going to pour more money into that because it's a lot cheaper. The game itself, NASCAR 21 Ignition, is not worth the $60 asking point. It's incredibly bare bones. And I know people were like, but there's a paint booth. That's not the most important thing in a racing game. Let me be honest with you. I did actually race on the road course. I raced on some road courses, which I'm still terrible at to this day. So that was actually kind of nice. One thing that a lot of people pointed out, since I'm going to be talking about racing, the racing aspect here. So the assists kind of irritate me, but I don't know how many of them I can actually turn off. There are people, and I even noticed this, there's no actual stage racing. The thing that NASCAR has featured prominently in its programming since 2017. It's not there. And stage racing has been in NASCAR probably since Heat 2 or 3. I think it was Heat 2. Because Heat 2 was 2017. So seeing that they stripped away everything that they had with the Unity engine, and they aren't even able to implement what they had as a baseline. Here's the thing. People would say, well, that's a continuation of the series. You could have probably added so much more to NASCAR Heat Ignition using the baseline of NASCAR Heat 5. And people say, well, they're making a game yearly. I'm aware of that. That's why when Heat 5 came out, I was like kind of understanding that NASCAR games are yearly releases. And they released Heat 5 early. Like earlier, because Heat 4 came out in November of 2019. Heat 5 came out in June or July of 2020. And here we are, a year later. Everybody hyped this game up, and a lot of people don't think it delivered because there's still numerous amounts of bugs. Go watch some NASCAR 21 content. People will talk about the bugs. But I think that this game genuinely did not live up to the hype. The game failed in its expectations. It's not perfect, no. I think they should really, for the next game, they should take and try to implement some of the things that NASCAR has implemented as a sport. So the stage racing, because they have those points. They have the point system. The stage racing is something that I think they need to implement back in if they're going to make it a full-fledged NASCAR simulation game. And people will be like, well, I don't like stage racing. I don't either, but I'm just saying, for people that want it, it's there. You know, NASCAR 21 Ignition completely omitted, being able to create a driver and own a team. They have reputation, which I don't understand what it does. Like, there's no tutorial to walk you through everything that the game has to offer. Now, Heat 5, every time you started a career mode, or you started the career mode, it would run you through the tutorials if you're starting a team. Like if you're going to start a team, it'll run you through the tutorials regarding that. It will run you through the tutorials of rivals and allies. There's none of that here. And I want to see this game succeed. But they stripped away everything that's been in NASCAR games for years. They're not the first ones to do a career mode. EA was the first ones to do that. And they did it all the way up until basically Eutechnyx took over. Eutechnyx still technically did a career mode, but it was more of a season mode. Then Eutechnyx did a full-fledged career mode. Then whoever picked it up after them built off of that. But now they're stripping everything away, so it doesn't even have a fuel gauge and tire wear monitor. They aren't even getting the basics down. And that's sad. But I hate to say it's sad, but fuel gauges and tire wear have been in NASCAR since the early 2000s. I don't know what's going on with, what happened during development, and I understand things like that happen. They need to get it out. But I think a lot of people are irritated because they took the work from the NASCAR Heat series that they built upon for years and years and years, and they just got rid of it. They just threw it away. Think about it. In NASCAR Heat 2, we had a career mode, but no ability to buy teams. In NASCAR Heat 3, they added the ability they tweaked and modified the career mode throughout the Heat series, which I think they're going to do the same thing with the yearly releases, but they really need to ask themselves, okay, what is the biggest focal point that we need to focus on? I think they focused a lot on the presentation. The gameplay's got a little bit of bugs, but it's not things that can't be ironed out. I don't know what engine. I know they used Unreal Engine, but I don't know what other things were used. I don't know much about the other tools and frameworks that were used in the development of this game. But I don't know. It's probably much cheaper to work off of a framework, which is what I've had to do in the past, I've worked off of an already established engine. You know, and that's not a bad thing. It's cost effective. But, and what I'm going to ask is probably going to take years for them to develop an engine of their own. So that way, if there is a bug that they need to fix, you know, it could be a game bug or something in the engine that didn't communicate right. I don't know. I don't know what discussion's going. But I'm just saying, think about it like this. You overhype a game or you get overexcited and the game comes out and it's nothing like you expect. It's $60 for a rather bare bones game. There is no season mode. There is no track test. Something that was probably one of the newest additions to Heat 5. And they're still technically continuing the NASCAR Heat series on Switch. That comes out next month. I believe November 21st. And again, this is just my opinion. If you disagree with it, that's fine. I don't think it's the best. I don't think it's the best racing game out there. I think there are far better. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Have a good night.